This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight we're talking about what is law school like. Have you ever thought you'd like to be a lawyer? What is law school like? What background should you have? How much time do you need to put into it? What are the options? What does it cost? Tonight's your chance to call in and ask. There is a program here in Huntsville that you can get started with the first year of law school, actually here from Huntsville. Call in your questions, the 31 Law Call number, 256-536-0077. You can also text to that same number. So call in or text your questions about law school. You can also email questions. You can email a question on any legal topic any day of the week. You send it to lawcall@waaytv.com. And when we get to a show that's on point, we pull some out. We will have some of your questions about law school tonight. We've got William Meservey from Timberlake, League and Brooks with us tonight, getting us started. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here, as always.
We always like to pull out a video to get us started before we take the questions about law school, to talk about what you guys do, personal injury cases. So this is a case, this is the lowest speed impact I've seen in a while, thank goodness. You know nobody was hurt, and you kind of wonder why they couldn't see this one coming. So when you look at an accident, even of this kind of low speed, who looks to be at fault, or what do you look to?
If you look over here on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that the dark vehicle had a green light.
Okay.
And this is actually a common mistake that folks make, which is they have a green light, so they say go. But when you're making a turn on a green light, you have a duty to yield the right-of-way to oncoming traffic, who also has a green light, as it would appear. And so here we've got a failure to yield the right-of-way on behalf of the driver in the dark vehicle, and of course that impacts the white vehicle. So white vehicles just coming straight on a green, as they're entitled to do, and the darker vehicle just fails to yield the right of way.
If it's just property damage, do they likely need lawyers, or what do you think?
Likely not if it's just property damage. You know, property damage, there's not much a lawyer can do to make your car more valuable than it otherwise is. The laws in Alabama are pretty straightforward on what you're entitled to receive. It's the fair market value, it's not the replacement value, and that's something you see a lot. Folks get upset and say, well, I can't get back into a 2015 Subaru Forester for this amount of money that they're paying me.
Yeah.
But they only have to pay you the fair market value, not what it would cost to put you back in that same vehicle. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, typically, unless the insurance company isn't making you a fair offer, or, you know, sometimes folks get in wrecks and they've got a 2006 Porsche or a 1970s Mustang. Yeah. And, you know, there can be some pretty big disputes over what the value of those vehicles are. So those, it's more common that someone might need a lawyer in just a straight property damage claim. But by and large, property damage is pretty straightforward.
Tonight we're talking about law school. So call in your questions or text your questions, and we've got a special guest tonight. Introduce your guest, William.
Yeah, so we have the pleasure of having Dean Scott Garrett on the show tonight, who is one of the deans at Birmingham School of Law, and we're grateful to have him with us tonight.
Good evening. Glad to be here, William.
Absolutely.
So talk about what, in general, law school is like. A lot of people, maybe they've been watching the Trump trial this past week, and they think, oh, this is what it would be like. It is fascinating when you get involved with a case. You're watching, I remember the OJ case, and different things come along that spark people's interest in law school, either for or against it, whichever side you're on. What is law school like?
Well, one thing to remember about law school is that law degrees are all basically all the same. And so even those folks that were in the Trump trial this week, they had to take all the classes that every law student has to take over the course of the three and a half year program. And then once you graduate and pass the bar exam, then you look to specialize in the area that you want to practice in. So it's a very broad, it's very broad from the beginning, and then it narrows as you get closer to what you're interested in.
And there is a way now to start your law school living in and going to class in Huntsville if you'd like to participate in your program. Tell me about that.
That's right. Again, I am the Dean of Birmingham School of Law, and we have a program here in Huntsville that we started in January of last year. you can take your first 6 classes, basically, not to get too far into detail, but you can take torts, contracts, and 2 writing courses in Huntsville to see if law school is for you. And after that point, you would transfer to either the weeknight program or the Saturday program at Birmingham School of Law in Birmingham.
And so when you look at sort of a traditional path to law school, where you can do 4 years in undergrad, and then you're going to sit and take the LSAT, which can be just an enormous task in and of itself, and then you're going to go to law school somewhat based off that. But what are the qualifications, or what do you need to do to be able to apply to Birmingham School of Law?
Well, we do require, you have to have a bachelor's degree from an accredited university, and the university would have had to been accredited when you got your bachelor's. If it subsequently became unaccredited, that doesn't necessarily matter. However, we do not require the LSAT for admission to BSL. We need a resume, 2 letters of recommendation, all the transcripts you've accumulated over time, and a personal statement of 200 to 500 words. And then we'll assess your application then.
And so with Birmingham School of Law option is a way that folks don't necessarily have to take that LSAT exam and suffer through what is almost one of the more difficult parts of attending law school. So it's a really unique and special opportunity that we have up here in North Alabama for folks who, may be working, and the classes are at night. So it provides some opportunities for those folks who are looking to better their position in life, but at the same time are still working and providing and doing those things.
And I would think that you get a fair number of older students as well. Sometimes that might be an advantage, don't you think?
That can be an advantage, and it is an advantage. And but our average age, and this remained pretty steady over the course of the time, is about 34.
Okay.
And so we have a lot of folks who are looking to reinvent themselves maybe and better themselves later in life, early middle age, I suppose. And it does contribute to the experience of the school. The younger students learn from the older students, and we've had students as old as 70 years old pass the bar exam in the last few years.
So
amazing.
I think there are a lot of things that, as a young student, I think we both went to law school pretty young, that you just didn't know at that age, and a little life experience would have helped you understand why it's important to study contracts, what the big deal is. If you're so young that you've never purchased your own car, you've never purchased a washing machine, you don't know what warranties and contracts and things like, you don't know what life can do to you and what pickles you can get into. I think older students know a lot of things that would be helpful.
The experience is useful.
We got this email question in from David. David said, what's the best undergraduate degree for someone who wants to go to law school? I would think criminal justice, but a law professor I met says that criminal justice students have to unlearn everything they learned in criminal justice classes in order to think like a lawyer. Okay, what do you think about that?
It's going to depend some on where you want to go to law school. And so the way that law schools are ranked, if you're looking to go to a ranked university for law school, your degree matters. They're ranked based off diversity, and that's not just what you might typically think of as diversity. It's diversity of undergraduate institutions represented, which undergraduate degrees are represented. And so for those top-level universities, a lot of times they're only going to be looking at, or rather, they're only going to take so many pre-law majors, they're only going to take so many English majors, they're only going to take so many criminal justice majors, and those tend to be, I think, the 3 most common undergraduate programs that end up going to law school. And so for some of those, a weirder degree can set you apart, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Statistically, zoology is one of the best degrees to go to law school because no one has that on their bingo card. And so it's unique, but tell us more about that.
I will say, I mean, the degrees of the bachelor's degrees of the students that I see at Birmingham School of Law run the gamut. And I would disagree with your professor, David, just a little bit. I don't think you have to unlearn quite everything that you learned in your undergraduate degree, but you will need to learn to think like a lawyer. Criminal justice is popular. Political science is popular. Myself, I was an English major.
I was an English minor.
And so, but I've had engineers, accountants, mathematicians. Again, the students at Birmingham School of Law, at least, they certainly run the gamut. And no undergraduate degree is preclusive from you being a student at Birmingham School of Law.
Now, one thing to think about is there are some areas of the law that demand a specific type of undergraduate degree.
Okay.
So if you think about a patent lawyer.
Yeah, they better be sciencey.
Yeah, they're going to need an engineering background. And once you pass the bar exam, you have to sit for another patent law bar exam. So it's incredibly difficult to get through that career path. But you're going to need an engineering or science-based background to perform that. There's also a JD LLM program at a lot of schools, and that is for folks with more of an accounting business background, and they may have some strict rules for undergraduate degrees related to those programs. But by and large, there's not a specific undergraduate.
There is not a specific undergraduate. And there are others, and when William mentioned the LLM degrees, there are programs throughout the country that are very specialized in LLMs. For instance, I had a student that graduated from Birmingham School of Law who went to, got his LLM in environmental law from, you guessed it, Vermont.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those LLM programs are very specialized, and it will further your career in a specific area of the law if that's what you choose to do.
We're going to take a break. We've got some text messages coming in, so if you've got a question, call in or send us a text to the exact same number. We'll be right back talking about how do you set yourself apart if you're one of those political science majors. Be right back.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call. Your rights, your calls, live. Presented by the Tennessee Valley's award-winning personal injury and wrongful death law firm, Timberlake, League & Brooks. Featuring the knowledge and experience of Attorney Michael Timberlake, Attorney Will League, Attorney Heath Brooks, Attorney William Meservey. And hosted by broadcaster and family law attorney Sharon Doviet. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back to 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Got with me William Meservey, who is with Timberlake, League & Brooks, personal injury attorneys. They do everything from car accidents to medical malpractice. We've also got Scott Garrett, who is the dean of the Birmingham School of Law, and we're talking about going to law school. Have you ever thought about being a lawyer, and what is law school like, and what does it cost? Law school is expensive.
It's not cheap, that's for sure. So, just like with college in general, you've seen a trend of, tuition rates going up.
Yeah.
And so it's not uncommon for law school to be, in the range of $45,000 a year. You do have some state institutions that if you have in-state tuition, you can get in and out of for about half that. But as you can imagine, those are very competitive because everyone wants to get in and out for the least amount of money as possible. So it can be difficult to obtain without going into debt in order to do so. But Dean has a solution.
I do have a solution. Birmingham School of Law, our mission is to provide a low-cost, high-quality legal education. We've been in business for 109 years, since 1915, to those who otherwise might not be able to afford it or get one. And so you pay as you go, but you can complete your entire legal education at Birmingham School of Law for less than $35,000.
Excellent.
And so the advantage that my students enjoy upon graduation and passing the bar exam is that they don't have any student loan debt. They can't. And so that's a great advantage to someone, especially someone who's trying to start their own practice and build from the ground up, which often many of my students end up doing.
We got a text message. I'm a current political science major. What do I need to do to set myself apart from all the other political science applications? There are in law schools, they get a lot of political science majors.
That's a fair question. The number one thing that you can do is to set yourself apart by having a high grade point average. And I'm sure you've never heard that before. But the higher your grade point average is, the more likely you're going to be able to get into a school. As well as, if you're going to a school that requires the LSAT, you're going to need to really, really study to score well in the LSAT. Most schools are going to look at that LSAT score, and they're going to weigh it equally to your 4 years of GPA. And that can be a difficult thing to deal with, you know, if you're having difficulty scoring well on the LSAT. But aside from those things, you know, I think the universities look at a lot of different things, job experience.
They look at job experience, and one thing you cannot underestimate, I don't think you should underestimate, is your civic involvement and your involvement in student government and your leadership skills. And they will, those things, your volunteer work and your positions in different social organizations within your university will set you apart. And that's one thing I would definitely recommend that you take into consideration.
Another thing is, if you speak a second language.
Yeah, that's helpful.
You know, it's not really necessarily that important which one, but there's such a need now for lawyers who are able to communicate in various languages. And so if you have a native language that's not English, or you've spent years studying another language, you know, that's something that can come into play and really set you apart on a resume as well.
How do you think people can determine whether they are the type of person that would make a good lawyer? How do you judge before you go to law school?
Well, I can't really say that. I will say that the one quality that one has to exhibit on a regular basis is the ability to communicate in writing. And quite frankly, that in our society these days, that ability is becoming more and more rare. And so if you write well and you are inclined to be a lawyer, you're more likely to be successful.
In addition to that, I would simply add, you need to be able to put your nose to the grindstone. Going to law school, whether you're doing it full-time or you're doing it on top of your normal work and going to night school, it's a lot of reading, and you can't breeze through it. You can't, you know, skip from point A to point B. You've got to put the work in, and there's really no substitute to that. And so if you're a person who is organized, is able to work well, and is able to work well without someone over your shoulder telling you, hey, you need to work well, you've got to be able to kind of self-start.
Yeah. Dean, talk about that. How many hours? I mean, if somebody's working a regular job and they're trying to do your program, so maybe they can do the first year here in Huntsville, but it's going to be how many days a week and how many hours?
It's 3 days a week with 2 hours and 45 minutes those 3 days for class. If you go to the Saturday program, it's all day, every Saturday for 45 Saturdays a year for 3.5 years.
But it's not just class, right? Now, what do you do outside of class?
And then on top of that, conventional wisdom says you're supposed to study for 3 hours per class hour. So I tell the students on the way in, and it is very, very near another full-time job. And in order to do it right, that's the way you have to treat it. And my students are remarkable folks. They have full-time jobs. Most of them have families, and they somehow find a way to get it done. It's late nights, early mornings, and lunch hours. They're studying all the time. But those who are determined to get there generally get there. And I can't say enough about the quality of the people that we have.
Yep. So if the second 2 years you do the program actually in Birmingham, then you're driving down.
That's right.
What time do classes start?
Classes start, all right, so to be clear, we have a weeknight program that basically is Monday through Friday, very few classes on Friday, but Monday through Thursday, classes start at 6 o'clock, one class per night.
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Saturday, same classes, but they're in succession from at 9, at 12:30, at 3:30.
And lasting, did you say when they tend to stop the evening classes?
The evening
what time are they over?
Oh, I'm sorry. They can be as long as 8:45.
Okay. And then you're driving back up. Okay. We've got a couple of graphics to talk about. The path to being a lawyer. So 4-year undergrad degree, take the LSAT, 3 years of law school, and then passing the bar.
May I
Yes,
interject
please.
just a second?
Please.
Our program, because of the nature of the program, it's year-round. Traditional law schools are 3 years. You can do the Birmingham School of Law program in 3 years, but it's extremely difficult. So our program is a little bit longer. It's 3.5 years of class, and it generally is 4 years until you make it to your first attempt at the bar exam.
And then the Birmingham School of Law requirements. Talk about that again.
All your undergraduate transcripts, a resume, 2 letters of recommendation, not from your Aunt Jeannie, and a personal essay of 200 to 600 words. Not too long, not too short.
And for those listening, what are you looking for in that personal essay?
I am looking for you to tell me what it is that you want to do with the law degree that you're going to seek.
Okay,
go ahead. That's fine. No, that's enough.
Somebody texted in. They said, do you have to have a law degree, or is it possible to just take the bar exam and become a lawyer? That's how it was in the old days.
That is no longer the way it is. You have to have a law degree to sit for the bar in Alabama. I know.
In Alabama, you need a law degree. There is one state, I can't remember if it's Washington or Oregon, just took that requirement away.
Oh, really?
And said that you can sit for the bar exam. But here's the reality is, after you finish law school, you're typically taking another review class on everything that's going to be in the bar exam.
Yep.
And there are many lawyers that have to take the bar exam multiple times in order to pass. It is not an easy exam to sit for and pass. And there are, in addition to significant portion of multiple choice questions, as the dean said, you're going to have a multitude of essays that you also have to complete, and it's all timed. And so you really have to have your thoughts together and get it down fast. And that can be really a struggle for a lot of folks.
It is a struggle for a lot of folks. Time management, and we have to focus as educators on helping students learn how to manage their time effectively to get through these tasks. Even if you're a perfectionist, you tend to spend too long. You can't do that. You have to move through the test in an expeditious manner.
We're going to take a break. Be right back talking about law school. Stay with us. If you didn't get your questions answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with S. Scott Garrett, Birmingham School of Law Dean, 205-322-6122. Also check out www.bsol.com. The forms and the applications are there. William Meservey with Timberlake, League & Brooks in Huntsville, 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is www.law-injury.com. You can also like them on Facebook and learn more about the law that way. And I practice family law. Thank you.
Here in Huntsville, practicing family law, 256-539-7337, www.sharonfamilylaw.com.
Some deadlines coming up, right?
The application deadline for the fall of 2024 is July 1st. Orientation is late July. And we get started around the 1st of August.
And where can they go to apply?
All the application information is at www.bsol.com.
Good luck with it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for all your calls and questions tonight. See you next week.
Thanks, everybody.